The rain hammered the tin roof of our Brooklyn brownstone like it was trying to drown out the screams inside me. I burst through the front door, soaked to the bone. My backpack, my goddamn vintage leather one that Dad gave me before he split, dangling empty from my shoulder, the strap frayed like my last nerve. "Jacob, you son of a bitch. Give it back." Jacob lounged on the living room couch like he owned the place, which, in Mom's eyes, he pretty much did. His arm was slung around that vapid blonde from his poli-sci class, Chloe, or whatever her name was, her fake lashes fluttering as she scrolled TikTok on his phone. My phone. The one with the cracked screen I'd saved 3 months for, loaded with every photo of me and my real family. The one Dad texted me from before he OD'd last year. Jacob didn't even look up at first, just smirked that lazy, all-American boy-next-door grin that made half the campus swoon. "Chill, Liam. It's just stuff. Just stuff." My voice cracked like thunder, and I hurled the backpack at his feet, the zipper popping open to spill out nothing but lint and regret. Mom's voice echoed from the kitchen, sharp as a switchblade. "Liam Alexander Hayes, what in God's name is going on in here?" She stormed in, apron dusted with flour from whatever Pinterest casserole she was perfecting to keep the peace, her eyes narrowing at me like I was the intruder in my own home. That was the hook that snagged me deepest, the way her gaze softened the second it landed on Jacob, like he was the golden boy she'd always prayed for after Dad bailed. "He stole it. Mom, my jacket, my phone, everything. Pawned it for that idiot's birthday gift." Chloe tittered like it was a joke, but Jacob finally sat up, his broad shoulders tensing under that threadbare Mets tee he wore like armor. Our eyes locked, and for a split second, I saw it, the flicker of something raw, something we'd buried under layers of bullshit since the day Mom married his dad 5 years ago. Guilt, regret, or just the same twisted hunger that kept me up nights, staring at the ceiling fan whirring between our rooms? But then he shrugged, that infuriating nonchalance masking the storm I knew brewed inside him. "She needed a jacket for the game, Liam. Yours fit her better than mine. And the phone? Borrowed it for pics. You'll get it back. Lies. All of it." I tracked the pawn shop receipt in his jeans pocket that morning, the one with my initials etched inside the leather. Mom bought it hook, line, and sinker, her hand on his knee like he was her own flesh and blood. "Liam, honey, Jacob wouldn't, boys, you're brothers now. Act like it, brothers." The word hit like a sucker punch, twisting the knife in the gut I'd been ignoring since we were 17, fumbling in the dark of that summer cabin upstate. I stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled, the rain swallowing my curses as I bolted down the stoop. Brooklyn blurred into a watercolor of neon signs and honking cabs, but all I could see was his face, that perfect jawline shadowed with stubble, those hazel eyes that promised everything and delivered jack shit. How the hell had we gotten here, from stolen kisses behind the bleachers to this? Him pimping my life for some sorority girl, and Mom picking him over me every damn time. It started innocently enough, or so we told ourselves. 5 years ago, Mom met Richard, Jacob's dad, at some grief support group in Queens. Dad had just left us high and dry, chasing skirts in Jersey, and Richard was fresh off a divorce that left him with a teenage son and a chip on his shoulder the size of the Verrazano Bridge. They bonded over bad coffee and worse memories, and before I knew it, we were packing up our Astoria apartment for this creaky brownstone in Bed-Stuy, where the walls were thin enough to hear every sigh, every secret. I was 16, awkward as hell, all limbs and unspoken rage, with a sketchbook full of half-drawn superheroes who looked suspiciously like the boys in my chem lab. Jacob was the opposite. Captain of the lacrosse team, effortless charm that made teachers overlook his half-assed essays, and a body built like he was born to fill out Abercrombie catalogs. The first time I saw him shirtless in the backyard, tossing a football with Richard, I felt it like a circuit shorting out, heat flooding places it had no business going. He caught me staring, grinned, and said, "Like what you see, Stepbro." It was a joke. Had to be. But jokes have a way of sticking, especially when you're both drowning in the wreckage of your old lives. Mom and Richard were too busy playing house to notice how we circled each other like wary dogs. Late-night video games in the basement that stretched till dawn, shoulders brushing on the subway to school, his hand lingering a beat too long when he passed me a beer at that forbidden house party in Park Slope. By junior year, the tension snapped. It was July, sweltering, the AC busted, and we were alone in that cabin Richard rented to bond as a family. Mom and Richard hiked off for the day, leaving us with a cooler of sodas and a deck of cards. We played poker, stakes rising from dares to touches, strip one layer for a lost hand. His laugh echoed off the pine walls when I folded, bluffing like a pro, but then he leaned across the table, breath hot against my ear. "You're tells your eyes, Liam. They give you away every time." I don't know who moved first, but suddenly his mouth was on mine, rough and desperate, tasting like cherry coke and forbidden fruit. Hands fumbled with belts, the floorboards creaking under us as we tumbled into something neither of us named. It was messy, urgent, all teeth and gasps, his fingers digging into my hips like he was afraid I'd vanish. Afterward, we lay there in the humid silence, staring at the rafters, and he whispered, "This doesn't change shit. We're bros now," but it did. God changed everything. We snuck around like thieves, quick fumbles in the locker room after practice, slow dances in the shadows of Coney Island Boardwalk at midnight. He called it bro stuff, a shield against the world that would crucify us both in this Bible Belt pocket of New York. I bought it because I had to, because loving him felt like breathing, essential and invisible. But then Chloe happened. Sophomore year at NYU, she latched onto him like a barnacle, all giggles and Greek week parties, dragging him into her orbit of frat boys and future influencers. He swore it was cover, a way to keep the whispers down, but I saw how her hand on his arm made him relax, how he laughed easier with her than the stolen moments we stole. And now this. My things. Pieces of me he'd swiped like they were his to give. I ended up at that dive bar on Myrtle Avenue, the one with the sticky floors and drag queens slinging wisdom over cheap whiskey. "Family's a scam, kid," said the bartender, a silver-haired queen named Ruby with eyeliner sharp as her tongue. Especially when it's stitched together with other people's thread. I nursed my drink, the burn matching the ache in my chest, replaying Mom's defense of him. "He's trying, Liam. Give your brother a break, brother." The lie we both clung to, even as it choked us. By midnight, my phone buzzed. "Jacob. Come home. We need to talk." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, the rain still pattering like unshed tears. Part of me wanted to ghost him, to cut the cord and let him drown in his straight guy facade. But the bigger part, the stupid, hopeful part, remembered the boy who'd traced constellations on my back that night in the cabin, whispering dreams of escaping to LA, just us against the Hollywood haze. I flagged a cab, the city lights streaking like accusations, and headed back to the brownstone. Whatever came next, couldn't be worse than this silence. The door creaked open to darkness. Chloe long gone. Mom and Richard asleep upstairs. Jacob waited in the kitchen, silhouetted against the fridge's glow, a beer in one hand and my pawn ticket in the other. "I fucked up," he said, voice low, eyes shadowed. "The jacket. I thought it'd make her happy. Make me happy, I guess." "Normal." He stepped closer, close enough I could smell the rain on him too, mixed with that cedar cologne that drove me insane. "But it's you I can't shake, Liam. It's always been you." My heart jackknifed, fists clenching at my sides. "Then why? Why her? Why this?" He reached for me, but I jerked back, the ghost of betrayal still stinging. "Because I'm scared. Okay, scared of what this makes us. Mom looks at me like I'm her savior, and if I blow it," his voice trailed, raw edges fraying. We stood there, inches apart, the air thick with what-ifs. Then, like magnets, we crashed together, his lips on mine, fierce and apologetic, hands roaming like they were mapping home. It was forgiveness and fury tangled up, clothes shedding in a trail to the basement stairs. Down there, amid the dusty boxes of our blended past, we reclaimed what was ours. His body over mine on the old futon, slow this time, deliberate, kisses that lingered, breaths sinking like a heartbeat. "I love you," he murmured against my neck, the words I'd waited years for, slipping out like a confession in the confessional. I held him tighter, tears mixing with sweat, believing for one reckless night that we could rewrite the script. But dawn brings clarity, and with it, consequences. Chloe texted him at 6 a.m., all hearts and brunch plans, and he answered with a winky emoji before rolling over, guilt-free. I lay there, staring at the water stains on the ceiling, realizing this was just another bandage on a bullet wound. Mom's footsteps creaked overhead, the smell of bacon wafting down like a truce. Family breakfast. Act normal. But inside, the fury simmered, pot ready to boil over. Jacob's hand found mine under the table later, squeezing like a promise, but his eyes darted to Chloe's incoming call. Brothers, my ass. Lovers in the dark, enemies in the light. And me, I was the fool holding the match. The weeks blurred into a haze of lectures and lacrosse practices. NYU's Washington Square Park, a whirlwind of street performers and overcaffeinated dreamers that did nothing to dull the edge of what Jacob and I had reignited. We'd sneak off to Washington Mews, that hidden alley of ivy-choked carriage houses where tourists never wandered, pressing against the brick walls for stolen minutes. His fingers in my hair, my nails raking his back through his hoodie. "This is us," he'd whisper, like it was a vow, his breath fogging the autumn chill. No more games, but games were all we knew. Chloe clung tighter, her Instagram stories a parade of us three at tailgates and trivia nights, Jacob's arm around her while his foot hooked mine under the table. Mom ate it up, inviting her over for Sunday pot roasts, cooing about the perfect family. Richard, oblivious in his lazy boy haze, clapped Jacob on the back for settling down. I played along, sketching in my new notebook, bought with overtime shifts at the coffee shop, portraits of fractured faces that looked too much like ours. The fury from that rainy night had cooled to embers, but it glowed hot whenever Chloe's perfume lingered on his collar. One crisp October evening, it all cracked wide open. We were at a house party in Williamsburg, the kind where craft IPAs flow like water and everyone's hustling their startup pitch. Jacob had dragged me along, Chloe on his other arm, her sequin top catching the strobe lights like disco shrapnel. I nursed a seltzer in the corner, watching them dance, her hips grinding against him, his hands polite but distant. Then she pulled him into a bedroom for a quick smoke, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. I waited 10 minutes, 15, the bass thumping through my ribs like accusations. When I pushed the door open, the room spun, Chloe straddling him on the bed, her laughter bubbling as she tugged at his belt. He froze, eyes locking on mine over her shoulder. Panic, then plea. Liam, wait. But I was already bolting, the party a blur of spilled drinks and sympathetic glances from strangers who knew none of it. Outside, the East River glittered under the Brooklyn Bridge, a mocking ribbon of light. I walked for hours, feet carrying me to the pier where we'd first talked dreams. Jacob confessing his poli-sci major was bullshit, that he wanted to write screenplays about outcasts like us. My phone buzzed incessantly. Mom, worried. Chloe, confused. Jacob, desperate. I silenced it, sinking onto the damp bench, the wind whipping salt into my eyes. Why did it hurt like this? We'd never promised exclusivity, never named the beast gnawing at our edges. But seeing her on him, it wasn't just jealousy. It was erasure, like every touch we'd shared was a sketch he could rub out for something cleaner. He found me at dawn, joggers crunching gravel as he dropped beside me, out of breath. It wasn't, he started, but I cut him off with a laugh, bitter as black coffee. Save it, Jake. I saw enough. His face crumpled, that boyish charm fracturing into something real, vulnerable. She's safe, Liam. Easy. With her, I don't have to think about this. He gestured between us, the river lapping like a sigh. About how one wrong move, and Mom loses her mind. Richard kicks me out. We end up like your dad, alone, broken. I turned to him, the sunrise painting his profile in gold, and grabbed his hand, rough from stick calluses. Then choose. Damn it. Us or the lie. His thumb traced my knuckles, a habit from those cabin nights, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd leap. Instead, he pulled away, standing like a man facing a firing squad. I can't. Not yet. Please, just be my brother in public. My everything in private. The words hung, a barbed wire fence we both knew we'd bleed on. I nodded, because what else was there? We walked back in silence. The city waking around us, dog walkers, food trucks firing up falafel wraps, like nothing had shattered. But it had. Chloe dumped him 2 days later, over text, calling him distant. Mom blamed me. Of course. You've been picking fights again, Liam. Jacob's sensitive. Sensitive. The word made me snort into my ramen that night, alone in my room while their laughter filtered through the vents. Winter crept in, blanketing Brooklyn in that gritty slush that turns sidewalks into minefields. Jacob and I fell into a rhythm, public bros, trading barbs over breakfast, private flames, meeting in dingy motels off the BQE where no one asked questions. He'd show up with greasy slices from Luigi's, feeding me bites between kisses, talking big about ditching it all for California once we graduated. Sunsets on the beach, just you and me, he'd say, his head on my chest, fingers drawing lazy hearts on my skin. I'd believe him, every time, because in those moments, he was mine, unfiltered, unguarded, the Jacob who'd once carved our initials into a subway seat during a midnight ride. But the cracks widened. Mom started pushing Richard's old law firm connections on him. A real future, while eyeing my art school applications like they were tax evasion schemes. Art's a hobby, Liam. Jacob's got ambition. Ambition. Like selling out your soul for a corner office was noble. I threw myself into my portfolio, charcoal sketches of fractured lovers that my professor called visceral, but each stroke felt like exorcism. Then came Thanksgiving. The family pilgrimage to Richard's sisters in Connecticut, a McMansion stuffed with turkey and passive-aggressive toasts. Chloe showed up, invited by Mom, the traitor, her new boyfriend in tow, some Wall Street bro with a Rolex that screamed compensation. Jacob seethed quietly through dinner, his knee pressing mine under the lace tablecloth, a silent Morse code of frustration. Later, in the guest room we shared, he snapped, "See, this is what they want." Me straight, settled, spitting out 2.5 kids. I pulled him close, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth. "Then fight it," I murmured, lips brushing his temple. We made love quietly, the house creaking around us like a judgmental ant, his moans muffled against my shoulder. But dawn brought hangovers and regrets. Richard cornered him in the kitchen, clapping his back too hard. "Proud of you, son. Chloe's boy seems solid. Maybe set you up." Jacob's eyes met mine across the room, a storm brewing. That night, driving back to the city, he blasted Springsteen, windows down despite the frostbite wind, screaming lyrics about highways and ghosts. I joined in, voice raw, pretending we were free. Freedom's a myth, though, in a city that chains you with rent and expectations. December hit, finals looming, and Jacob started pulling away. Texts shorter, excuses longer. Practice ran late. Group project. I filled the voids with shifts at the shop, steaming lattes for hipsters who tipped in crypto dreams, my sketchbook gathering dust. One night, post-midterms, I found him in the basement, scrolling Chloe's feed, that Wall Street prick's arm around her like a noose. "You miss it?" I asked, leaning in the doorway, heart thudding. He startled, phone clattering. "Miss what?" "The bullshit." But his eyes said otherwise, longing for the ease, the script everyone handed him. We fought then, words like shrapnel, me accusing him of cowardice, him hurling my dreamer status back like it was a curse. "You think running to some art commune fixes this? We're in it together, Liam, or we're nothing. Together." I laughed, bitter. "Feels like I'm the only one bleeding." He grabbed my shirt, pulling me close, anger flipping to need in a blink. We collided against the washer, frantic and punishing bites on collarbones, hips grinding like we could fuck the doubt out. It ended in tears, him collapsing onto me, whispering, "I don't know how to do this without breaking us." Christmas Eve. Mom strung lights on the stoop, carols blaring from a tinny speaker. Richard proposed a toast to new beginnings, his eyes on Jacob like he was the prodigal son returned. I slipped out for air, the neighborhood alive with laughter spilling from brownstones, families whole in ways ours never would be. Jacob followed, handing me a crumpled gift, my old sketchbook, rebound with leather from the pawnshop jacket. "Merry fucking Christmas," he said, voice thick. Inside its pages, he'd added drawings, crude but earnest, us as superheroes soaring over the skyline, capes billowing. "You're the artist," he shrugged. But I tried. I kissed him there, under the mistletoe Mom hung ironically, tasting pine and promise. For a night, it was enough. But January brought the blizzard, burying the city in white silence. And with it, the avalanche. Chloe texted Jacob an olive branch. Miss our talks. Coffee? And he went. Not telling me, of course. I found out from Mom's offhand. Isn't it nice he's patching things up? Fury reignited, hotter than before. I confronted him in the hallway, coats dripping slush, voices hushed to not wake the house. You're unbelievable. It's closure, he hissed, but his eyes darted. Guilty. Closure. Like we were a chapter he could dog-ear and forget. I shoved past him, slamming my door, the lock clicking like finality. That night, alone with the wind howling, I packed a bag, essentials, sketchbook, the MetroCard with our scratched initials. California called, sunsets waiting. But as I zipped it, his knock came soft. Liam. Please. I opened the door, and there he was, disheveled, eyes red-rimmed. I didn't go far. Told her it's over for good. He stepped in, hands framing my face. You're it. End of story. We fell into bed, bodies entwining like roots, slow and sacred. He traced my scars, emotional, invisible, and vowed, no more hiding. I believed him, whispering back the love I'd bottled since 16. Spring thaw came slow, but we bloomed in secret picnics in Prospect Park. His head in my lap as I sketched the cherry blossoms. Graduation loomed, diplomas promising escape. Mom noticed the shift, her smiles tighter, questions probing. You two seem. Close. We laughed it off. Bros forever. But the air hummed with change, electric as a storm front. Then, the lightning struck. Richard found Jacob's journal, hidden poorly under the mattress, pages filled with our story in hurried scrawl. He burst into dinner that night, book in hand, face thunderous. What the hell is this? Mom gasped, reading over his shoulder, her world tilting. Jacob went white, my fork clattering. The room exploded, accusations flying, Richard roaring about unnatural, Mom torn between denial and despair. I stood, chair scraping. It's love, you idiots. Real as this table. Jacob's hand found mine under it, trembling but sure. They stared, the blended family fracturing like cheap glass. Richard stormed out, Mom collapsing into sobs. My boys! How? But in the chaos, Jacob squeezed tighter. We're telling the truth, he said, voice steady for once. All of it. The fallout was biblical. Richard packing for his sisters, Mom alternating between therapy pamphlets and guilt trips. Chloe, she unfollowed us both, a ghost in the machine. But we held, Jacob and I, navigating the wreckage hand in hand. Summer found us subletting a tiny walk-up in the village, canvases and scripts scattered like confetti. No more stealing, no more sides. Just us, raw and real, building from the ruins. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow at the edges. One night, as fireflies danced outside our window, Jacob turned to me, voice small. What if it's not enough? I pulled him close, heart sinking. It is. Because it's ours. The village apartment was a shoebox miracle. Peeling wallpaper the color of faded dreams, a fire escape that doubled as our smoking lounge, and windows framing the jazz clubs where we'd sneak in with fake IDs and real hunger. Jacob crashed on the couch most nights, his screenwriting laptop glowing like a beacon, pages filling with stories of boys like us, rebels in rain-slicked alleys, chasing horizons that didn't judge. I'd watch him from the kitchenette, stirring instant noodles, my heart swelling with a pride that bordered on ache. "Read it," I'd say, and he'd blush, that farm boy humility peeking through his city polish, reciting lines that echoed our own tangled path. But freedom's price is steep, and the bills piled like unspoken resentments. Mom called weekly, her voice a tightrope of reconciliation. "Richard's in counseling, Liam. He's trying for the family." Family. The word still chafed. A wool sweater in July. She'd send checks, crisp 20s folded with notes, for groceries. "Love, Mom." Jacob refused them at first, charity from the enemy. But hunger wins wars, and soon we were scraping by on her guilt and my barista tips. Chloe faded to a bad memory, her texts unanswered, but Richard's silence roared louder, a void that sucked at Jacob's confidence. "He hasn't called," he'd mutter, staring at his phone during lulls in his typing. "Thinks I'm a freak now." "You're not," I'd counter, pulling him onto the fire escape, the city hum a lullaby below. We'd share a joint, the smoke curling like questions, and I'd trace the freckles on his nose, constellations I'd mapped 100 times. "You're Jacob. My Jacob. The guy who makes the world make sense." He'd lean into me, lips brushing my jaw, and we'd make out slow, hands wandering under threadbare tees, the metal grate cool against our fevered skin. Sex in that apartment was sacrament. Lazy mornings tangled in thrift store sheets, urgent afternoons when rejection emails piled up, his body arching under mine like a bridge to somewhere safe. Yet the world outside wasn't kind to bridges built on whispers. NYU's alumni mixer hit like a hangover we couldn't shake. We went separately, me in my best button-down, sketches tucked under arm, him in chinos that hugged his thighs just right, script pitches polished to a sheen. The rooftop bar overlooked the Hudson, fairy lights twinkling like false hopes, champagne flutes clinking to toasts about disrupting industries. I mingled with gallery owners, their eyes glazing over my queer narrative series. But Jacob shone, cornering a producer from Sundance, his laugh booming as he spun tales of underdogs triumphing. Then I saw her, Chloe, arm in arm with her Wall Street drone, her dress a red flag waving. She spotted Jacob, sauntered over with that sorority smile, the drone trailing like excess baggage. "Jake, God, it's been forever." Her hug lingered, hand on his bicep, and he stiffened but played along, that old charm flickering on autopilot. I watched from across the crowd, gut twisting as she leaned in, whispering something that made him chuckle, genuine, "Damn it." The drone bought drinks, and soon they were a trio, reminiscing about Greek week like it was ancient history worth dredging. I slipped away to the edge, nursing a flat seltzer, the river below a black mirror reflecting my folly. Why did it still sting? We'd chosen each other, burned bridges to ash. But seeing him ease into that world, the straight, shiny one he'd fled, felt like betrayal's echo. When he found me later, cheeks flushed from schmoozing, couldn't hold it. Having fun with the ex? His face fell, the producer's card crumpling in his fist. "It was networking, Liam. She's connected, her dad's in film." Excuses, layered like the city's smog. We argued in hushed tones, the party swirling oblivious, until he grabbed my elbow. "Let's get out." The cab ride home was ice, silence thicker than the traffic jam on the West Side Highway. Back in the apartment, it erupted. "You think I want that life?" he yelled, pacing the cramped living room, scripts scattering like fallen leaves. Flirting with ghosts to get a foot in the door? It's survival, I fired back, voice cracking. Survival or sabotage? Every time she smiles, I see you slipping away. He stopped, eyes wild, and lunged, not in anger, but need, crashing us against the wall, mouths fusing in a war of tongues and teeth. We stripped there, frantic, his hands pinning mine above my head as he thrust deep, each movement a claim, mine, yours, ours. It ended in gasps and grips, collapsing to the floor in a heap of limbs and love bites. The fight fucked out but not forgotten. Morning brought apologies over burnt toast, his arms around me from behind as I flipped eggs. I'm all in, he murmured, chin on my shoulder. No more half measures. We sealed it with a walk to the High Line. Hand in hand now. Fuck the stairs, elderly couples clucking, tourists snapping pics. The elevated park bloomed wild, weeds reclaiming rails like nature's rebellion, and we sat on a bench, watching the sun dip behind Jersey. Let's make it official, I said, half joking. Rings or some shit, he laughed, but his eyes turned serious, pulling a key from his pocket, the spare to the apartment, engraved with a tiny J&L intertwined. Better than gold. Summer sizzled in, sticky and unyielding, the city a pressure cooker of ambitions and breakdowns. Jacob landed a gig, intern at an indie studio in Tribeca, fetching coffee but rubbing elbows with directors who loved his voice. I sold a piece to a local zine, queers on the cover inked from my fever dreams, the check buying us AC for a week. Mom visited once, tentative, bearing lasagna and Richard's regrets. He's sorry, Jacob. Wants to meet for coffee. Jacob nodded, but the key burned in his pocket like a talisman. The betrayal brewed slow, pot left unattended. It started with late nights at the studio, networking drinks, he'd say, stumbling in at 2 a.m. Reeking of bourbon and Chanel no. 5. Not Chloe, but her type, ambitious assistants with sharp bobs and sharper questions. Just talk, he'd insist, collapsing beside me, but his phone buzzed with notifications he silenced too quick. I let it slide, buried in my own grind life drawing classes at the League, fingers black with charcoal, dreaming of a solo show that had put us on the map. Then, the high tide of happiness. Our anniversary, 1 year from that basement reclaiming. I planned it meticulous, dinner at this hole-in-the-wall Italian in Little Italy, candles flickering on checkered tables, a bottle of Chianti we'd split like secrets. He showed late, Tiascu, eyes bright but evasive. Big meeting, he grinned, kissing me deep, tasting like mint over whiskey. We ate pasta al dente, twirling forks and stories, his foot hooked on my ankle under the table. Back home, we slow danced to Coltrane on the radio, bodies swaying in the humid dark, his lips tracing my neck. Love you more than scripts, more than screens. We made it to the bedroom, undressing deliberate, shirts unbuttoned slow, pants pooling at ankles, his gaze devouring me like I was the plot twist he'd waited for. He laid me back, worshipping with mouth and hands, drawing moans that echoed off the walls. When he entered me, it was poetry, deep, unhurried, eyes locked like anchors. Forever, he breathed, and I shattered around him, believing every syllable. But forever's fracture. 2 weeks later, I came home early from a canceled class, the apartment empty but for his laptop open on the coffee table. Curiosity, that serpent, bit, the browser history glowed with dating apps, Grindr, Scruff, Profiles of faceless torsos captioned discreet fun. No strings. My stomach plummeted. Scrolling chats. Flirty emojis. Meetup plans at bars I'd never heard of. Miss the thrill. One read, timestamped last Tuesday. The door clicked, him, whistling, takeout bags swinging. His face drained when he saw me, screen in hand. Liam. It's nothing, stress relief. Venting. Like our love was a pressure valve he could twist shut. The fight was cataclysmic. Me hurling accusations. Him deflecting with, it's not cheating if it's not real. The word ignited the powder keg. Then neither are we, I roared, grabbing my bag, the same one from that rainy escape, now stuffed with fresh hurt. He blocked the door, tears streaking. Don't. Please. Panicked. After Mom's call, Richard's bullshit. Felt like I was losing myself, losing himself. In us, or from us, I shoved past, the keychain jangling as I tossed it on the table. Find yourself in someone else's bed, Jake. I'm done being the secret. The streets swallowed me, neon bleeding into puddles, cabs honking like accusatory horns. I crashed at Ruby's bar, the drag queen pouring shots of truth. Boys like him? They dip toes till the water's too deep, then drown you both. I nodded, numb, sketching his face on a napkin, beautiful, broken, until the lines blurred with gin tears. He texted through the night. Please, poems, promises. Come back. I'll delete it all. Dawn found me on a bench in Tompkins Square, pigeons scavenging like my resolve. Mom called, voice quivering. Jacob's a mess. Liam. Says he can't without you, without me. The irony twisted, but so did the pull, years of muscle memory, loving him like gravity. I returned at noon, key and lock like fate's cruel joke. He was wrecked, floor littered with wadded pages, eyes hollow. We talked for hours, raw as open veins, his fears of fading into the gay script, my terror of being the fallback. No more apps, he swore, deleting them live, then pulling me down, bodies mending what words couldn't. It was tender, healing, kisses like sutures, thrusts like rebirth. Fall foliage turned the park to fire, and we walked it together, hands laced defiantly. Richard reached out, a stiff email. Proud of your work, son. Doors open. Jacob hit reply. Only if it includes Liam. Silence followed. But we built anyway, my first gallery show. His short film screening at a queer fest in Chelsea. Standing in the crowd, his arm around my waist. Cheers erupting. I felt it, roots taking hold. But roots twist underground. Chloe resurfaced at the after-party. Supportive now, her eyes lingering on Jacob with old hunger. He shut it down cold, happily taken. But the seed planted doubt, whispering what-ifs. Mom hosted a tense dinner, Richard thawing with awkward jokes. But under the table, Jacob's hand in mine was steel. We're good, he murmured later. In our bed, bodies entwined. Good. For now. Winter whispered warnings. Snow dusting the fire escape like sugar on wounds. Jacob's big break landed. A producer optioning his script. Meetings in glass towers downtown. Success suited him. That glow returning. But so did the late nights. The industry schmoozing. I trusted. Or tried. Pouring my soul into a mural for a community center. Queer icons in vibrant strokes, unveiling to applause that echoed my heartbeat. Then, the storm. I walked in on a call, his voice low, intimate. Yeah, miss you too. Lunch soon. Chloe's laugh tinkled through the speaker. My world tilted, the bag slipping from my shoulder. Hanging up now, he said, face ashen. It's platonic old times. Platonic. The lie we'd told ourselves for years. Fury, that old friend, roared back. How many old times before its new betrayal? He reached, but I recoiled. You're spiraling, Liam. Paranoid from the past. Paranoid. The word fueled the fire. I stormed out, the cold biting like truth, wandering to the pier where it all began. Waves crashed, indifferent, as I scrolled our texts, love notes amid the fights, a timeline of try and fail. Hours later, his cab pulled up, him tumbling out, coat flapping. I ended it. For good. Blocked her, proof on his phone. But trust is glass. Shattered once. Sharp forever. We rebuilt slow. Therapy sessions in a walk-in clinic. His confessions of imposter syndrome. My unloading of abandonment scars. We're not perfect, the counselor said. But you're choosing. Choosing. The word became mantra, etched in the new tattoo on his wrist. JNL, bold and black. Spring bloom tentative. Cherry petals confetti in the wind. We planned a road trip, up the coast to Provincetown, queer haven where we could breathe free. Packing the Jetta with coolers and canvases, his grin wide. Our story, starting now. The drive was magic, Bruce on the stereo. Stops at dive diners for clam rolls. Hands linked over the console. P-Town welcomed us with rainbow flags whipping in the breeze. Whale watches and drag brunches where we danced till dawn. Nights in the B&B were bliss. Salt air through open windows. His body curled to mine. Whispers of futures. Co-authored graphic novels. Scripts with our faces on covers. No more stealing, he joked one morning, kissing my knuckles. You're all I need. Back in the city, the high lingered, but reality nipped, eviction notice taped to the door, rent hiked beyond our scramble. Mom offered help, Richard too, a check with no strings. We took it, pride swallowing hard, and hunted a new place, Lower East Side, gritty and ours. Moving day, boxes stacked like fortifications. Jacob paused at a photo. Us at 16. Awkward grins at the cabin. Remember? He asked, voice thick. Every scar, I replied, pulling him close. We christened the empty space, echoes bouncing off bare walls, laughter mingling with moans. Hope, fragile but fierce, took root. Yet summer's heat bred tempests. Jacob's script greenlit, pilots, additions, the whirl of pre-production. He changed, subtle, sharper suits, cologne that wasn't ours, calls from agents at odd hours. It's the game, he'd say, kissing my forehead like a benediction. I nodded, but the sketches turned darker, figures reaching, hands slipping. The climax crashed on a sweltering August night. I waited up, clock ticking past 1 a.m., the apartment a sauna of worry. Door opened, him, disheveled, lipstick on his collar, not Chloe's shade but damning all the same. Who? The word hung, a guillotine. A producer, he stammered, eyes down. Networking. It got blurry, blurry. The floodgates burst, tears, screams, my fist through the drywall, blood trickling warm. He lunged to bandage, but I shoved, get out. All the way this time, he didn't. knelt instead, sobbing, "I hate this part of me, the chaser, the fraud. But I love you. Let me fix it." Dawn broke as we talked, exhausted, his head in my lap, truth spilling, the pressure, the fear of losing the dream. "Without you, it's hollow." I forgave, because love's a stubborn weed, but the scar tissue thickened. Fall leaves fell like warnings, and we attended couples retreat in the Catskills, cabins, hikes, workshops on radical honesty. There, under star-pricked skies, he proposed not rings, but vows. "I choose us." Daily, tears mixed with rain as we sealed it on the porch. Bodies urgent against the railing, reclaiming thunder. Winter wrapped us gentle. Holidays at Mom's. Richard's handshake firm, her embrace tight. "Proud," she whispered, eyes on our laced fingers. The year turned, and with it, a stronger, scarred, but standing. The Catskills retreat lingered like a good hangover, sore muscles from trust falls, hearts lighter from bonfire confessions. Back in the LES, we dove into routine with renewed fire, Jacob jetting to script reads, me grinding at the community center mural, evenings colliding in a symphony of takeout and tangled sheets. "This is the plot," he'd quip, nuzzling my neck over low main cartons. The steady build before the epic arc. I'd laugh, tracing the new ink on his wrist, the J&L a compass pointing true. For the first time, the future felt less like a cliff and more like a canvas, blank, begging our strokes. But arcs twist, and ours veered sharp with Jacob's big news, the studio fast-tracking his pilot to series order. Prime time, Liam, queer leads, New York grit. His grin split the dim apartment light, phone buzzing with congrats from agents who'd ghosted him months back. We celebrated at our Italian spot, Chianti flowing, his foot teasing mine under the table. "To us," he toasted, eyes sparkling like the river at dusk. Later, in bed, triumph turned carnal, his mouth mapping me slow, deliberate, drawing gasps that fogged the windows. "Co-creator credit?" panted, fingers in his hair. "Hell yes," he murmured, rising to claim me, our rhythms a duet of ambition and ache. Success inflated him, though interviews in indie rags, panels at queer film fests where fans mobbed him for selfies. A tag along, proud in the wings, sketching the crowd's energy, but envy crept, a vine choking quiet. My mural wrapped to acclaim, but galleries ghosted my submissions. Edgy, but markets saturated. Mom noticed, during her bi-weekly brunches, "You're the backbone, Liam. Don't let his shine dim yours." Backbone. The word stuck, a splinter under skin. Chloe's ghost resurfaced sly, a supportive email to Jacob. "Found you me. Thrilled for you. Drinks to celebrate." He forwarded it with a WTF. But the courtesy reply slipped. "Sure. Quick catch-up." I saw red, the old fury flaring. Why entertain her? Over cold pizza in the kitchen, voices rising till neighbors banged the wall. "Closure," he insisted, but his eyes dodged. "Or temptation?" I shot back, storming to the fire escape, city lights mocking my smallness. He followed, hoodie zipped against the chill, sitting close enough our thighs touched. "It's noise, Liam. You're the signal." His hand on my knee, warm anchor, and we talked it out, fears of irrelevance, the pull of old patterns. Ended with kisses that deepened, pulling me inside, clothes shedding like old skin. On the rug, he took his time, fingers, tongue, Then himself, whispering devotions till I arched. Undone. Thanksgiving loomed. Mom's olive branch. Full family dinner. Richard included. We prepped wary. Jacob practicing dad lines. Me ironing shirts that hid my tattoos. The brownstone smelled of sage and regret. Table set like a battlefield truce. Richard arrived stiff, bearing wine. His handshake lingering on Jacob's. Heard about the show. Impressive. Mom fluttered, passing yams. Eyes darting to our subtle touches, thumbs brushing plates. Dinner flowed uneasy. Small talk on weather, probes into dating lives. Chloe's name dropped casual. Her engagement announced in the Times, and Jacob choked on pie, my foot steadying his under the table. Later, washing dishes, Mom cornered me. He's different with you. Good different. Progress. Bittersweet as the cranberry sauce. But the real quake hit post-holiday. Jacob's co-star cast. A brooding heartthrob named Alex. Fresh from Juilliard. With cheekbones that could cut glass and a laugh that echoed in tabloids. Table reads turned to late rehearsals. Jacob home buzzing. Kid's a natural. Gets the queer nuance. Nuance. I smiled through gritted teeth. But jealousy gnawed. Sketches turning to Alex's likeness. Idealized and irked. One night, post-rehearsal, Jacob stumbled in giggly. 2 a.m. Dark, collapsing beside me with beer breath. Alex says hi, he slurred, nuzzling close. His hands roamed, insistent, but I stiffened, smelling cologne not his, faint but foreign. Fun night, I asked, voice steel. He paused, clarity dawning. Just drinks. Team building, team. The word ignited. Fight brewed slow, then exploded. Me accusing flirtation. Him defending camaraderie. You're projecting. Liam from the apps. From Chloe. Projecting. I hurled a pillow, missing his head by inches. Or you're repeating. He grabbed my wrists, pinning me to the bed. Not rough, but firm, eyes fierce. I choose you. Every damn day. The anger flipped. Raw need surging. We wrestled clothes off. Bodies clashing in a storm of thrusts and cries. Release a thunderclap that left us spent. Tangled. Apologies came with coffee. His arms around me at the counter. Alex is straight as an arrow. But even if. You're my north. North. We laughed it off. But the seed sprouted doubt. Watered by distance as filming ramped. Spring unfurled. Cherry blossoms mocking our wilt. My solo show landed. A tiny space in Soho. Fractured frames. Queer love in charcoal fury. Opening night. Jacob arrived late. Disheveled from set. But his speech slayed. Liam sees the breaks we hide. He's my muse. Collectors buzzed. Sales trickled. And we after-partied at a dive. His hand possessive on my back. Mom bought a piece, us, abstracted in shadows and light, hanging it in the brownstone like a flag. Richard emailed, beautiful work. Dinner soon, thought, tentative. But summer scorched truths bare. Jacob's show wrapped pilot. Premiere party at some rooftop in Midtown, suits. Schmoozers. Champagne waterfalls. I dressed sharp. Arm candy proud. But Alex hovered, too touchy. Laughs too intimate. Jacob waved it off. But when Alex pulled him for private congrats, vanishing 20 minutes, my gut nodded. I found them on the balcony. Alex's hand on Jacob's shoulder. Heads close. Words lost in wind. Innocent. Maybe. But the photo Chloe posted later, snapped from afar, captioned Old Flames, New sparks fanned the blaze. Viral in niche circles. Whispers at brunch spots. Is he? Confrontation hit cab ride home. My voice venom. Sparks? Really? He swore denial. Phone handed over. Texts clean. But the seed flowered doubt. It's PR bullshit, he pleaded. But I slept on the couch. The city snoring indifferent. Days blurred tense. Polite breakfasts. Loaded silences. Therapy helped. Our counselor's office a neutral ground. Boundaries, boys. Define them. We did nights off. Check-ins. A pact. No alone time with ex-vibes. Signed with a kiss. Renewed vigor in bed, him on top. Slow grind. Eyes locked like lifelines. Fall foliage framed the premiere. Red carpet nerves. Jacob's hands sweaty in mine off camera. The screening, our story on screen. Raw and resonant. Drew tears. Applause thundering. After party. Alex toasted us. To the creators and their epic love. Public nod. Small but seismic. Mom and Richard attended post-screen. Her arm through his. Pride beaming. You did it. Together. Dinner after. Real talk. Richard's apologies. Gruff. Was wrong. Love's love. Healing. Hard one. But betrayal's shadow lengthened. Late shoot one night. Jacob missed our anniversary. Forgotten in the chaos. I waited. Candles guttering. Till voicemail. Stuck. Babe. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Fury simmered cold. He came home dawn-weary. Flowers wilting. But I met him ice. Choose the dream or me. Ultimatum. Ugly. But earned. He dropped to knees. Ring box tumbling out. Simple band. Silver promise. You. Always. Tears. Tackles to the floor. Love-making fervent. Forgiveness in every caress. Vow in every peak. Winter-wrapped gifts. Engagement quiet. Just us at City Hall. Rings exchanged over hot cider. Mom hosted reveal dinner. Tears and toasts. Richard's nod solemn. Chloe's wedding invite arrived. RSVP no. Closure sealed. Yet, the arc peaked sharp. Alex confessed crush during rap drinks. Jacob shutting it down but telling me late. Guilt-laced. Transparency, he said. But the telling stung. Why risk the fracture? Fight minimal. Makeup maximal. Weekend getaway to the cabin. Reclaiming roots. Snow-blanketed pines. Fire crackling as we slow-danced nude. Bodies warming the chill. Our story, he whispered, entering me gentle. Happily ever after's optional. Back. Spring's renewal. My show toured. His series renewed. We bought a co-op in Brooklyn Heights. View of the bridge. Space for studios. Moving day. Unpacking the old sketchbook. His editions faded but fond. Brothers to husbands, he joked, kissing ink-smudged fingers. Summer solstice party. Friends. Family. Rainbows on the terrace. Mom danced with Richard. Free. Chloe sent congrats. Distant echo. As dusk fell, Jacob pulled me aside. Ring glinting. Stole your heart once. Vowed never again. Kissed him deep. Crowd whooping. The city ours. But novels need tension. And ours simmered subtle. A producer's advance, flirty. Insistent. Jacob dodging but confiding hesitant. Test me, he said, handing phone. Trust rebuilt. Brick by brick. Fall harvest. Wedding small. Central Park gazebo. Vows handwritten. Mine on his fears. His on my strengths. Vows exchanged. Kiss ceiling. Cheers rising like yeast. Winter's hush. Honeymoon road trip. Route 66 reversed. Deserts to coasts. Motels with neon hearts. In a Joshua Tree cabin. Under stars. We made love lazy. Dreams whispered. Kids maybe. Via surrogacy, galleries and Grammys. Intertwined. Back. The denouement dawned gentle. Mom's cancer diagnosis, early, treatable, rallied us. Hospital vigils. Jacob's arm around her. My sketches cheering her room. Richard softened fully. Family forged in fire. Spring's bloom. Remission party. Toasts to survival. Jacob's series Emmy nod. My monograph published. Life, layered, loves the thread. Yet, in quiet nights, I trace his ring. Furious no more? He smiles, pulling close. Only at how long it took. The remission party stretched into dawn. Laughter echoing off the brownstone walls like echoes of battles won. Mom, bald under her scarf but eyes bright as spring, pulled Jacob and me into a hug that smelled of chemo and Chanel, her armor, unyielding. My boys, she whispered, voice husky from treatments. You saved each other. Don't forget. Richard hovered nearby, beer in hand, his nod gruff but genuine. Family's what you fight for. We'd come full circle. The blended mess now a tapestry. Threads knotted tight. Post-party haze. Jacob and I crashed at the old place. The apartment we'd outgrown but couldn't quit. Waking tangled in our old bed. Creaky frame protesting like an old friend. He traced the scar on my knuckle from that drywall punch years back. Battle wounds, he murmured, lips brushing it soft. I flipped him, straddling, morning light gilding his stubble. Worth every one, lovemaking lazy, sunlight slanting through blinds, his hands mapping familiar terrain, hips, ribs, the dip of my throat. We peaked slow, breaths mingling, the world outside irrelevant. Emmy's loomed, Jacob's nerves a live wire, fidgeting over bow ties, pacing rehearsals. What if it flops? He'd vent, collapsing into my lap on the co-op couch, Brooklyn Bridge winking through windows. I'd sketch him then, quick lines capturing the vulnerability behind his star polish. It won't. You're the heart. My monograph launch synced. Galleries from LA to Berlin clamoring for fractured frames. Queer resilience inked bold. We toured tandem. His panels on authentic storytelling. Mine on visual narratives. Hands brushing podiums like secret codes. LA detour. Sun-soaked meetings. Poolside pitches where execs eyed Jacob like fresh meat. I watched wary, but he deflected smooth. My husband's the talent scout, ring flashing casual. Nights in hotel suites. We'd debrief over room service. His head on my chest. Miss Brooklyn already. Sex there was electric, mirrors reflecting us infinite. His thrusts urgent against silk sheets. Moans swallowed in kisses. Home's you, he'd gasp, and I'd believe. Every collapse. Back east. Fall's crisp bite brought harvest. Mom's full head of curls returning. Richard proposing a family cabin trip, ironic echo. We packed the Jetta, coolers stocked, heading upstate where it started. The pines whispered memories, poker nights, fumbling firsts as we hiked trails, Jacob's hand in mine open now, no shadows. Evenings by the fire, Richard sharing war stories from his firm days, Mom's laughter lighter. One night, stars blanketing, Jacob and I slipped to the dock, lake lapping soft. Full circle, he said, pulling a flask, Dad's old one, salvaged. Sips shared, stories swapped. Remember the rain? Thought I'd lost you. You did? I teased, nipping his ear. Then stole me back. Laughter turned heat. Clothes discarded on planks. Water cool on bare skin as he took me under moonlight. Slow rolls. Waves sinking our rhythm. Climax a quiet roar muffled in his shoulder. Winter's grip. Holidays evolved. Our co-op hosting. Tree strung with queer icons. Mom's lax sizzling. Richard carved turkey steady. Toasting to the Hayes Fosters. Our hyphenated hell yes. Chloe sent a card. Her and the drone's kid beaming. We replied warm. Ghosts buried. New Year's Eve. Rooftop bash with fest faves. Fireworks bursting over the bridge. Jacob's arm around me as Auld Lang Syne swelled. Resolutions? He asked, breath warm on my neck. More you, I murmured, turning for a kiss that deepened. Crowd cheering oblivious or approving. Spring's thaw. Adoption talks tentative. Fostering first. A teen maybe. Like us. Lost then found. Agency visits stirred old aches. My dad's absence. Jacob's mom's early grave. But hope bloomed. Paperwork a promise. Summer solstice. Vow renewal. Intimate on the high line. Wildflowers are witnesses. Vows updated. Mine on enduring fury turned faith. His on never stealing but sharing. Rings re-exchanged. Kiss sealing. Friends toasting with craft brews. Yet, humanity's arc bends by. Mom's checkup clean. But Richard's heart scare stents. Scares. Us at his bedside trading bad jokes. Don't go soft on me. Pop. Jacob quipped. Hand in his. Recovery rallied him. Family tighter. Fall's palette. My mural series commissioned nationwide. Jacob's spin-off greenlit. Diverse writer's room. His producing hat snug. Balance teetered. Late calls. Missed dinners but date nights enforced. Coney Island walks. Cotton candy sticky on fingers. Ferris wheel confessions midair. Winter's Eve. First foster placement. A scared kid named Riley. 16. All sharp edges and hidden hurt. First night. Bunk beds assembled. Stories swapped over pizza. We get it, Jacob said. A level. Staying's hard. But here, you're safe. Spring forward. Riley thawing. Sketches shared. Lacrosse stick in hand with Jacob's coaching. Agency praises. Permanence whispers. Summer zenith. Family beach trip. Jersey Shore. Waves crashing as we build sandcastles epic. Riley laughs free. Mom's book forgotten. Richard's grill smoking triumph. Bonfire night. Esmore's gooey. Jacob pulls me aside. This. All this. Kiss salt tanged. Hands linked as stars wheel. Fall harvest. Riley's adoption final. Courtroom tears. Judge's gavel a heartbeat. Family, she signs. Hugging fierce. Homecoming bash. Neighborhood potluck. Toasts endless. Winter's peace. Holidays expanded. Riley's bio mom visiting tentative. Bridges built slow. Co-op alive with chaos. Teen drama. Script deadlines. Mural mocks. Yet, in quiet, Jacob and I steal moments. Kitchen dances to old Springsteen. Bodies fitting after years. His whisper. Furious? Nah. Grateful. Spring's eternal. Gallery retrospective. My life's work framed. Early Jacob's to Riley portraits. Jacob's speech. He saw me first. Loves me still. Tears. Applause. Our hands clasped stageside. Summer's promise. Road trip redux. Riley shotgun. Route 66 eastbound deserts to dreams. Motels with neon. Stories spun. Love's legacy in every mile. Fall's reflection. Mom's memoir penned. Our story a chapter. Blended. Not broken. Book launch. Signings where fans share theirs. You gave us words. Winter's close. New Year's again. Rooftop renewed fireworks. Auld Lang Syne. Jacob's arm steel. To us. Always. And in that hush after cheers. As snow dusts the bridge. I know. No perfect endings. Just human ones. Furious starts to grateful ever afters. We walk home. Fingers laced. The city ours. Love the light that outshines every shadow. Epilogue whispers. Years stack. Riley off to college. Queer and fierce. Mom's grandkids via her. Chaos joyful. Richard's retirement golf. Bad puns eternal. Jacob's empire grows. Mine too collaborations. A graphic novel of us. Bros to husbands inked immortal. One rainy night. Brownstone stoop. Echo of that first storm. He pulls me close. Stole your things once. Gave you my heart forever. Kiss in the downpour. Thunder applause. Fury long faded to fire. Human, after all. And whole.